and we have Aaron Glennon representing the planning office and Amy Levine representing the law department. We have 2 items on the agenda this evening. There will be an opportunity for public comment of limited duration at the end of our discussion.
What happened to John?
He's frozen.
Oh, he froze, huh?
Regarding
Oh, there you
the,
go.
I froze.
Stuck in the ether.
Am I back?
You
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't freeze again.
All right. Since my internet connection is unstable. Maybe my daughter's taking up a little too much bandwidth. Well, I'll talk slowly. Maybe that'll help. In any case, we are open to receiving comments from the public. We just ask that they be, the topic be kept to the matter at hand under the consideration of the HRC, and that any comments are limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will call I declare we have a quorum. So the last official piece of business, I will call 9 Thurlow Terrace as the first item on the agenda in the Washington Park Historic District, and you are seeking a certificate of appropriateness to construct a 2-story addition to the rear of the building. And we thank you for a very complete package, or at least my review of the package is quite complete, and look forward to your presentation of the project.
Thank you. We spent some time on redoing the set of plans. Aside from the framing and structural plans, it's essentially a construction set. So I hope that what you guys have received answers the questions that were raised before. One comment that I do want to make is this slide that's currently up shows the proposed park view. Realistically, with the trees, with the topography of the property, with the berm, you'll probably see even less than that. But we went, very conservative and showed the maximum view that one would potentially have from the walking trail there. And we hope, this is something that everyone finds to be suitable. And if there are specific questions people have, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. I see that you've clapboard sided the lowest level, at least the.
So, and forgive me, I think that there was a slight error. Those are actually meant to be 12-inch poured cement walls that will be hidden by the berm. I think when it went to rendering, they had, perhaps accidentally showed them that way. I spoke to Aaron about having that updated. Aaron, I don't know if you got a chance to do that or not.
I did not, and I just, until you pointed that out, John, I meant to make that comment before.
I apologize.
Sorry.
Okay.
So you're saying it's concrete?
Yeah, it's concrete, but it really won't be visible from the park because the berm will really be covering that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
And it will be tinted, correct? You provided the specifications.
Yeah.
It's in the packet. Yeah.
Would you consider having 1/1 windows instead of trying to recreate a Greek revival appearance with the windows?
Is it for just an aesthetic perspective, or is there?
Well, you know, with the Greek Revival windows, the 6/6, it can possibly be looked at as historic, and it's not historic. I mean, you have a whole bunch of different elements, the cornice and the pilasters between the windows and all that stuff, which harkens back to a historic appearance. And I'm just wanting to see if you are willing to simplify it and see what the other members think about that.
So I think so. My father-in-law is an architect who designed the structure, and he'd be obviously living there. He really liked these windows. I mean, if it was a big problem, I could speak with him about us finding 1/1s. But if it's not a problem, I think that we prefer the look of the style. If it's not, if it's not problematic.
It's a suggestion. It's
No,
not
I
a problem.
appreciate that.
It's a suggestion.
I'm comfortable with the 6/6.
I think with the flat roof profile, it's certainly readily distinguishable from the main residence.
The existing, yeah.
So and there is a physical separation. So I don't think there's a confusion of historicism for this element.
What is the lines, the horizontal and the vertical lines, and I guess the railing between the existing building and the new section? What's happening back there?
Forgive me. Are you talking about the front railing above the walkway, or are you talking about the rear walkway?
I think I'm asking about both.
So the front railing, and it should be in the packet. There is a detail of the railing that we intended to use. We essentially intended to have it run across from the park-facing view. As you walk out the doors, the front porch, we planned on having it run into the existing home. Erin, are the spec sheets attached to this presentation?
I think I may.
If not, I should. Yeah, they should be.
Well, we've seen them in the meeting packet, I
They're
think.
in the meeting. They are in the
Yeah, we
meeting
had them
packet.
there.
They're
Right.
not on the presentation.
Yeah, I think I've seen that because I saw all the other material details that you, but I can't pull them up right now.
It appears to be a Trex railing system with posts and a horizontal rail, top and bottom, and then they appear to be metal pickets between the top and bottom rails.
That's correct.
Where are you seeing that, John? Am I looking at another elevation or what are you looking at?
Well, I wish the pages were numbered in this
Yeah,
PDF, but it's past the Stowe colors. There's a section after all of the drawings. If you scroll through it, there are some color sheets, and then just after that is the railing.
So does the new railing match the historic railing?
No, I mean the rail itself is white, but it's a different style.
Okay. All right. So I can't see it, so I'm just visualizing, continuous rail from Thurlow going all the way to the rear of your new addition.
I think the metal pickets within the body of the rail are slender and a contrasting color, so they differentiate it from the wood pickets and the more solid look of the traditional railing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Thank
see?
you, thank you, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. And what color is that going to be painted?
It's going to be white.
White, okay.
So I'm sorry, Aaron, to bounce you around. The elevation, that drawing that we were just looking at, and I asked about the railings and also the higher, the lines higher up on the elevation. What's that structure showing us? It was the elevation you just had.
Yep, give me 1 second.
Yep.
This.
Yeah, so I see the railing line, of course, and then the two verticals and then that horizontal. What is that? I'm having a hard time understanding what that is.
I'm sorry, are you talking about the two verticals and the horizontal between the two structures?
Exactly, yes.
Oh, that's on the rear end of the building. It's the breezeway. It's, I guess, just showing the side profile.
It covers the exterior stairs here, Marilyn.
Okay, okay. It's a complicated little project, huh? Yeah.
I would have preferred for everyone just to move in with us, but we really want their own independence. Would have been a lot easier.
Be careful what you wish for.
I really don't have a problem with it. I mean, it is clearly distinguishable from the historic building. There is that separation, which is always helpful in delineating between the two. And 6/6 windows, I really have no problem with. You know, I think I would have simplified it to 1/1. But as John pointed out, you know, it's a clear distinction, separation between the two buildings. I think it's a go, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm very appreciative of that you took back our comments to your, I guess, father-in-law and worked with us. So that's great. I have a question for Jack, who I believe spoke very clearly about when you were on site and walked around that from when we spoke of this the last time when it was presented.
Yep.
So in this elevation, the concrete, exposed concrete at the garage and the doors and the light configuration of the doors, in my mind, they're really in contrast with the other detailing, both on the existing building and what's being proposed here for the new residence portion. And
From what I see of the plan, the berm that comes up, the top of the hill that comes up, you would not see that. For example, if you were walking along the road that parallels, goes along the lake.
Right.
I don't think you'd see anything below the structure above. In the drawing that's here, the one we're looking at now, the white railing that's there looks rather harsh, but I think that's because it's imposed. It looks like it's a whiter than white than the colors, the trim that's on the older building now. And I think that's just, I think a little bit of time, it's going to measure, it won't stand out the way it does now. I think it'll blend more.
I think it's actually quite, and forgive me for speaking over you, Jack, but it's actually quite hidden. Even the house itself, even though it's a decent sized structure, because of the trees and the foliage in the area, it's not very noticeable from the park. I think most of the addition would be covered.
Yeah.
But I think that the the rendering doesn't do it justice. But I think that would be the most that you would see. And
Yeah,
I think you would see much less than that.
I think you'd see very little of it. Either on the bottom, you wouldn't see anything on the bottom where the garages are, and I think you'd see very little of the building that's going to be put in the backyard.
Yeah, I agree. I did go by the site before the first meeting, and I don't think you're going to see very little of the addition.
So here, just to finish this to my own satisfaction, here, the breezeway is not shown, correct?
Yeah, I think it was maybe just our limitations in superimposing.
Okay, so that wasn't shown. And then if those railings were plus minus 36 inches in height, what this rendering is showing us is about 36 inches below the base of the railing, plus minus. So now, Erin, would you go back to the elevation, please?
Mhm.
So one of those two is, those two then are in conflict. And that's why I wanted to ask that question again about how visible we thought this was going to be, in particular the lower level. That's why I was asking.
I think the difference in height between the two railings will probably be 3 to 5 inches.
No, I'm not asking,
I'm
that's
sorry.
not what I'm saying. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is that the approximate height of the top of the rail is 36 inches above the deck of that whole courtyard level,
Approximately.
approximately 36, 42, whatever it might be. And that in the rendering that we just looked at, we saw an additional 36 plus minus inches below the railing that was visible in that rendering.
I think the prior document is probably more accurate than this. This is just, the rendering shrunken down with a railing added, just superimposed over an existing photo. So I think the prior slide is a more accurate representation.
I mean, the building design certainly doesn't reflect a 36-inch wide piece of material beneath the railing. I think it's just the how that image was.
I think it's just the way that these items are rendered, but
yeah.
And maybe I'm not understanding the question, but so it's probably going to be 36 to 40 inches in height. The spindles will be spaced out 4 inches. The final height of the railing is probably a little more accurate in this rendering, but this obviously doesn't show the sections in the spindles. So I think that was inadvertently left out of this.
And I was actually more interested in that 36 inches below the railing, which would have been the top of the garage structure and whatever finished material. That's the part that I was asking about.
Okay.
If you looked at the way it was imposed on there, and I think we knew what we wanted to see, but if you looked at it, it looked like you had a 3-foot wall and then 3 feet of rail on top of it. And I don't think that's what you intended.
No.
I think you'd be lucky if you saw the top of the railings with maybe an inch or so.
Probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you certainly wouldn't be looking at 6 feet of a
No,
wall,
definitely
a
not.
combination of wall with railings.
Definitely not.
And again, the topography and the foliage on the trees up there will obscure a great deal of this.
If I could take a look, because there's not much detail here on the breezeway to get from the new addition to the old house. I see 2 parallel lines that are supported by, 2 posts of some sort. What will this be made out of? What kind of material will be there? First of all, if it's a roof, it's a flat roof. And how wide would that breezeway be? Would it be set back from the new building, or would it be parallel with the south wall of the new building? There's no feeling of depth. Is it something set back a little bit, or is it something that comes flush with the
So,
front?
so Jack, I think the idea was that if you look at, I'm sorry, if Aaron, if it's possible to go back one slide.
Yep.
So this is the basement. From the basement, obviously, we have the elevator to go up, and then you have the stairwell that comes up above that. I think the intention of the breezeway, it was a simple structure with 4x4 post decking, and we'd probably have some sort of pitch to it for drainage with just a glue down rubber material. The idea was just to give some protection to the walkway, so if it's raining and snowing, that
So how deep would the roof be? Would it be a 4 feet or 5 feet?
the width would be approximately 48 to 54 inches, I believe,
Enough to cover the.
to cover the walkway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Marilyn, or not Marilyn, Aaron, if you scroll down to the next image, the roof plan, that may help
Yeah,
explain a bit more of what is intended there.
yep.
So is this.
I do have a question, I guess relating not to the breezeway roof, but the new addition. They really liked the idea that Jack had brought up about a future rooftop garden. If in the future we wanted to look into that, would that require another approval process like this, or would that be a building department matter?
Oh, we'd have to prove every plant that goes there.
No,
No, but there'd be a railing all the way around the perimeter.
Yes, there would be.
It would alter the appearance of it, so I would
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
would have to come back. But unless you chose to, construct the railing now, and then we could certainly consider that.
Well,
Okay,
either John construct it now or propose it now, right? And so, can you go back to the elevation, Aaron, please?
well, and depending,
well, we have a bit of a parapet.
yeah, depending on how visible it is based on the height of the railing.
Yeah.
Below the parapet, it would all depend on what's visible for us. If
Okay.
it's not visible, then
Okay. I don't think it's something we're prepared to do at the moment, but I was just wondering.
What's the height of the parapet? Would you go back to that detail? Because you'd have 42 inches. Oh, it doesn't show. Okay. You'd have 42 inches for your rail for a guard up there, I think. But this doesn't. That's probably only 18 inches or so. Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine there's got to be quite a plan put together with the shedding water and drainage to avoid erosion to the park. You're digging those garages down. There's got to be.
We're digging them down, Chris, but we're only digging down about a few feet. We're essentially matching the basement level, and the basement, about 60% of it is exposed as it is. And the entire property is sloping towards the park. So the rear, from the park going backwards, we'd be digging down maybe closer to 4 feet, a little bit more, but not very much, I would think.
It may not be our purview, but I'm concerned about the drainage erosion to the overall park.
Sure. At the driveway level, just because since we'd be lowering the driveway, we'd probably install some sort of a dry well or a catch basin. As it is right now, all water from the driveway slopes down to either the park or to Thurlow Terrace, because we would be, in effect, there would be a negative grade towards the garages. we were thinking a drain and a dry well would probably make the most sense.
Where's the roof collected water gonna go? That was a very good question, Chris. Yeah, you're changing the imperviousness of the soil. Where's the roof water that's collected going?
I'm sorry, one other question, I'm sorry, one other comment I want to make. Chris, we're actually, we're taking, there's an existing parking lot there that's actually quite large. So we're not really increasing the footprint much beyond the parking lot. And we're actually giving some space back for the courtyard that we're taking. So I think that we'd be a net negative as opposed to positive, service coverage. And forgive me, Marilyn, you had asked a question and.
Yeah, where's just, it's a helpful answer. And where will you take all the roof water that's collected? Where will that go?
There should be, I thought that there was a roof drain detail on that. Subsequent pages.
Not the drain detail, but once all collected, where does it go? Does it go to a city line, a new city line?
It would go to, I believe it would go to the storm on Thurlow.
Yeah.
Are there underground drainage structures that serve that parking lot now?
There are not.
Okay. Well, I think certainly controlling drainage and to,
Sure.
limit any potential erosion
Sure.
for your property or the park is certainly
Sure.
something. Well, the city would be looking for a drainage plan anyhow.
Of
in
course.
the
Mhm.
permit package.
And for us too, we wouldn't want water to be, it would, at this point, it would be, without proper drainage, it would be collecting at the base of the garage. And we wouldn't want there to be, damming. We wouldn't want ice buildup. We definitely, that's something we definitely would want addressed. And again, our solution for that would have been a dry well.
Catch basin of some kind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the project.
Second it.
Well, that was quick and sweet. Thank you, Lee. Aaron, do we have
Let me,
anyone registered to make any comments from the general public?
we don't have anybody registered. And it doesn't look like we have anybody raising hands to comment, so.
All right. Well, we can certainly call it to a vote then. All those in favor of the motion to approve the plan as presented?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No one? Okay. It is passed, and Franz, you can proceed with haste.
Thank you very much. I really
Look forward
appreciate
to
it.
this. And thank you so much for
You.
all the input that you accepted and when you needed it and were open to. And I think this is going to be a wonderful project for everybody in Albany to see what you're doing.
I hope so. Thank you all very much for your time, consideration, and your feedback. Thank
I
you
do
also.
have one
Yes.
comment. There's a misplaced door on that elevation. One of the doors should be over in the right apartment. The door wants to bump over one more bay.
We'll take care of that.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
You got it on the plans. It's the elevation that isn't coordinated. That happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a return of 52 North Pearl Street in the downtown Albany Historic District. And this is in response to something that had been approved back in 2018. And I would ask Aaron to provide a little bit of the background to refresh all those who were on the commission at that time and those who were not to the sequence of events.
So in June 2018, on June 20th, applicants applied for approval to install new storefronts at both 54 North Pearl Street, the Emery Building, and 52 North Pearl Street, the building outlined in red. The commission approved 54 North Pearl Street with conditions and deferred the submission for 52 North Pearl Street, and requested that the applicant come back to the commission at a later date. The applicant returned on July 5th of 2018 with two elevation drawings. The commission approved the proposal with conditions that they come back with details about the center treatment to the storefront and revisions with their other comments in mind.
Wait a minute, Erin, we're looking at two different
So
elevations.
they submitted two
Yeah,
elevations.
Yep.
The commission approved the one on the left with conditions. So the one with the wine glass in the center bricked portion. And so on August 15th, the HRC reviewed the proposal which featured gooseneck lighting, paneled bulkheads, and tripart glazing with a divided light transom and a signboard. And they HRC issued final approval for this design.
Did the applicant come up with the new storefront design that we see here, August
15th, 2018.
Yeah, did the applicant come up with that design?
Yes.
Which is a historically appropriate design.
They submitted these revisions for review at the August 15th meeting. This was submitted by the applicant.
Okay.
So as of on June 22nd, it was brought to my attention by a member of the public that the existing condition of the storefront deviated from the approved certificate of appropriateness. The building department did issue a stop work order, and on July 18th, the planning department, myself, Brad Glass, Chris Spencer, Amy Levine from Court Counsel, and two inspectors from the building department met with the property owners to discuss the existing proposal and then the process forward. We did recommend that they consider alternate designs for the existing storefront. And the applicant did outline that there were multiple internal conditions that did not allow for them to install the approved August 2018 plans. And they then submitted the proposed alteration for review by the HRC to retain the proposed condition with the addition of a 48-inch awning, a new single light window, gooseneck lighting, and cement planters. So that is the proposal currently under review for the HRC.
Erin, could you go back to a rendering that shows the two side by side?
The July. submission.
Well, that's okay. I remember the conversations on this, and there was a lot of discussion of trying to link the two buildings. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the placement of the horizontal mullions.
Correct.
And it seems to, and the 54 as constructed doesn't follow this pattern. So we spent a lot of time looking at the two side by side and talking about the relative placement of transoms and all the glazing bars. But just a note on 54, you see that it's 5 lights high, and you can go now to one of the last photos you showed us. It was constructed with 3 lights high, right?
Yeah, you can just, I have
So
a,
that was part of the deliberations, and that's a little bit different than was approved. That's all, just an observation.
I think at the time, the discussion for the storefront for 54 was that was a conceived to be a roll-up door, a glazed roll-up.
Right.
And that was the basis of the, I believe 54 was approved in the July, was it July 7th?
it was approved, the 54 was approved June 20th.
And then July 5th, I think
And then July 5th, we reviewed the final design work for 54
right,
and then discussed the proposal for 52.
okay. So 54 at that time was approved with conditions, and 52 was still subject to further review.
Correct.
Okay.
What the applicant, what's your name?
Chris Pratt.
Chris.
George
Okay,
Mahoney.
Chris.
Yeah, and George Mahoney's here also, my partner.
You came up with historically appropriate storefront design with the bulkheads and all that kind of stuff, and glazing and the transom, the glazed transom and stuff. That's pretty historically appropriate. It doesn't match what was there historically, but I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. I don't understand, why did you deviate drastically from that?
Well, I can address that, which I addressed at the meeting that Aaron alluded to. First of all, for whatever reason, and I don't think we need to, I did not know that this approval was done on that. I don't believe, and maybe I was, I've done a lot in 2 years. I don't believe I was at that meeting where it was approved. So I did not know that that was approved. But having said that, if it was approved, I would have came back after we started the work and that front and said that it couldn't be done for a number of reasons. And I can walk you through them, which I did with the building department. The first one is the fact of where you look at the approval, the door. No, you right there is fine, Aaron. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
In between those two columns, when we took it down the plywood that was there, when we took the plywood down and we exposed that other beam, we noticed that the beam was just sitting on no more than a 12-inch footing. And our architect looked at it and we felt it was very compromised, which is why we ended up putting the concrete support, if you will, a footing around it to give it better support. So we could not put the door there. And then the second part of that is that entrance right there, because of the design of the building, because of everything we had to change with plumbing and there was nothing in this building, absolutely nothing. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you why we arrived at what we arrived at. There were so many things that had to be done. We couldn't run the sprinkler out where it was originally designed, the fire department feed. We had to run it through that area. So we had to relocate the door. And then that area right there is basically into nothing. It is a stairway to the basement, which we had to change. So this design that we would have loved to have done if it was all storefront is broken into 3 areas where you have an entrance for an apartment building, which includes the hallway. You have what will be an entrance to we say a wine bar. It could be any type of retail, but it's a very limited, narrow hallway because of the narrowness of the building. And then you have a space that really, the glass would just show an entrance to a stairwell. So I want to reiterate, I was not aware, and I'm sure, I don't know if the letter was sent out, I never saw it. And my partner, I think who's on here, George, attested, neither one of us knew that this design was approved. So we needed to close up the building and we weren't done. We needed to do something. And instead of putting plywood back up, we went with a design where we exposed the beams, which was in the discussions that we had when I was at the 2 meetings. And we also tried to generate a way that we can have somewhat of an entrance for the apartments, but also the glass that will go into, which eventually is another retail space. So I don't know if that gives you the full answer, but that's where we, in my mind, and I'm the one that oversees the construction. In my mind, I felt that we had to do something to close up the building and come up with a better design.
Who submitted the application that we saw in 2018?
I submitted the application, but I think that this drawing was emailed.
These were conceptual drawings too, Chris, right? They were just conceptual ideas at the time. I only want to reiterate, when we got into the work here, there was some things that just precluded us from actually making it look like that drawing. Where that door is on the right-hand side, less than 2 feet back was a pit for a elevator. So, I mean, even if you put a door or piece of glass there, less than 20 inches behind that is a pit and a staircase going to a basement. So it was there prior. I mean, it was something you look at, but it just wasn't going to make it, because we could put a piece of glass there. Sure, you could, but not with the fire, with the pipe coming out of the building now. And then you would still have a piece of glass looking at a wall 22 inches behind it.
Erin,
Why
can you go back to the,
why produce a drawing that shows a historically appropriate design if you knew that this could not be done?
Lee, I just said that. I didn't know it couldn't be done. I really didn't. I mean, I'm not trying to, I mean, look at the building's on a main street. And then when COVID hit and we had to cover up the building. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, listen, this thing has taken 2 years of my life. This building had nothing in it, nothing. Had no plumbing, no sprinkler, not one thing. So, and we're not a big company. We don't have dollars at our disposals that we could have had architects come in and really thought all that through. So we did the best we could. And that right there, that feed right there, we were planning on that going another part of the building. It could not be done. So
that one beam, go back to that last photo, that beam right there that comes down, that pillar, that was on when we exposed it, it was on a couple loose rocks and bricks right there on the left-hand side, and it needed to be shored up. So that's why that was done.
Are you talking about the column?
The column, yes.
Okay, because the beam is
I'm
something.
sorry, the column. I'm sorry, the column
on
this column on the left-hand side, not where the sprinkler is, but on the other side, was literally almost compromised when we exposed it. Something you wouldn't have known when you first got there.
Yeah.
can we see a overview of the best overview we have of the existing? Because personally, I find the presentation that you just gave as to what happened missing some important connections. Like,
okay.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And certainly we all know that you run into all kinds of surprises during construction. But all that aside, you've kind of presented why you did what you did. The question now for us is, do we think that this is an acceptable historic treatment for this building?
Let me pull up the elevations.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to, I'm sorry, I forgot who was just speaking.
This is Marilyn Kaplan.
I'm sorry, Marilyn. I didn't see your name on there. Sorry.
That's right.
I understand what you're saying, Marilyn. I really do. And I have a gentleman that I work with that does our elevation drawings. From my recollection, I remember the discussions with all of you. I remember being there, coming there twice, and I never had a clear understanding of exactly what was wanted there, what you guys exactly wanted to put there. Until it was brought up about more glass, that was brought up. So I went back to our designer. I asked him to put together the drawing. It was sent, but again, I did not know, in my mind, I'm not speaking for my partner, for anyone else. I was the one that oversaw construction. In my mind, I did not know that that was approved. I did not know that that actual design was approved. So that's the best answer I can give you. And I wasn't trying to, if I knew it was approved, I probably would have said, we have to go back and we have to, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work for inside. It's not going to work for what we're trying to do. Again, as an example, if you're looking at this drawing right here, that door goes into a hallway. In that hallway, we have a closet for garbage cans. We have mailboxes on the wall. We have a security system. We would lose all that if we put all that glass in the front. So these are things that we just, and because of COVID, it's no excuse, but we just needed to close up the building because it was being compromised. People were, it wasn't clear, wasn't all the way sealed up. So again, I'm sorry, I just want to reiterate how we got to where we're at, but I agree. We want to fix it, but we got to fix it that's feasible and also makes sense for the downtown district. So
yeah, I would like to add to that, at the August meeting, what we reiterated was, and what I've heard here today from the previous discussion is I'm listening to people that are pretty much experts on what is appropriate, what should be, and you got into level of detail. I was listening to the level of detail you got in. We can look at what happened in the past. Why don't we look at this differently and say, this is like I said to Chris prior to me getting on this phone call, why don't we look at this as just like CDX plywood being put up on the side of this building right now and closing it in, and let's get some discussion with you folks to decide what you think is best and appropriate. We will go back and make whatever drawings we need to do that you think is fair. I mean, we're just trying to work with you on here. We're not saying that we went around you or anything like that. We're trying to do whatever we got to do and work with you guys as experts to tell us what you think is appropriate based on what we know the inside looks like.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that you didn't come to the commission with the current design for us to look at and comment on. I mean,
I don't understand what that has to do with what we're here today. I mean, let's talk about moving forward, not what's going back.
Let me tell you, what you have provided to propose to us does not meet the standards.
Okay.
Lee, I just said, let's look at this like it's a closed up building with CDX plywood like it used to have on it. And let's talk moving forward. I think I was pretty clear on that.
Maybe we need a floor plan of that area prior to any work, like an existing floor plan, because you say the stairs behind the right portion of the building. We didn't know that. Well, at least I didn't know it.
I thought I had
have a lot of things going on behind that facade that you really couldn't put a glazed storefront there as was proposed.
Correct.
Can we go back to the approved storefront, the last approved storefront? Because maybe some of and I agree with you, George. Our job is to say, does the work that's constructed here meet the Secretary's standards? That's our job. And however unfortunate circumstances, COVID included, that's beyond the mandate that we have. So I guess relative to your question, one problem here, if I may, is what you're showing on 54 also is not what was built. So I don't know.
Marilyn, I'm sorry to interrupt you. 54, like the gentleman said, was originally a roll-up door. I think roll-up doors, to be honest with you, are pretty tacky.
I understand all of that. All I'm saying is that when you made the change, you did not come and tell us you were making the change. And we might have said, okay, that's not a problem. But that's here nor there, and that's a separate discussion. I think that the elements that you see on 52 here of glazing and horizontal lines and a wooden base bulkhead and the retention of the columns, I think that those elements are one, as you're asking for direction, that you should look at again based on what the floor plan limitations that you have are. So that's the vocabulary, is we've got that lower bulkhead, you've got quite a bit of glazing, we've got transoms. Now, again, it doesn't quite make sense in the same way it did originally when we had five lights on 54. So you're going to want to reconfigure in that way so that the two work together. But I think that these are the basic elements that you can go back with and work with based on the floor plan limitations and any of the other construction limitations that you ran into.
But hey, Marilyn, can I just ask this too? Why do the two buildings need to work together? I mean, there's many
They
buildings.
don't. That was what was originally
Right.
proposed to us.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying across the front. No, I agree with you. What I'm asking is.
I don't think they need to be. I can't speak
Okay,
for the
I'm
other
sorry.
commissioners. That was
Okay.
the concept, as I recall, that was the concept that was brought to us, is that it's one large space and the goal was to tie those two together. And that presented
Right.
its own challenges. But now they, in my opinion, I can't speak for the others, of course, I don't think that the two need necessarily to try to work as a single storefront because they're two different buildings.
The real difference too is this, and I think when I first came in, 54 is much easier because it's just one open floor plan. It serves right now as a deli market. It was easier, whereas, and I do agree, Lee, that we can give you the layout inside. I can show you what our challenges are, and we can do that. I have no problem. And again, I want it to look. I don't like the way it looks now. To be honest with you, I don't. I didn't love it.
That's why I said, Lee, let's just look at this like we
Right,
closed
right.
up a better space.
Right. I'm just saying that. I wish it was easy. We're looking at a couple things. It's really high. The ceiling inside is high. There's just a lot of things we ran into. So at this point, I want to apologize. I really do, that it got to this point. Again, I take full responsibility. I'm on site every day with construction. My main focus was this, as George said, get something on the outside and get those beams exposed because they were buried, and get them in the forefront temporarily until we can figure out what to do. So if this commission wants us to come in with floor plan and do that, and I have no problem with that. We can start to get that
plan,
started.
our charge is the exterior, and the floor plan only presents the limitations that.
No, I understand
when
that.
you give us the new storefront design, we will understand it. But
I understand that. I'm saying just so you guys can see what I'm talking about, what we're dealing with. So
does it make sense? Does it make sense to
this discussion is that this really, at this point in time, is a work in progress.
Yes.
Yes.
And that what
And we're
has
looking
been
for-
done, we can all characterize and agree is temporary closure
Correct.
Yes.
with a coat of paint on.
Yes.
Amy has a comment, John. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If I could interject, though, this may be a work in progress, but the USDO states very clearly that exterior alterations are not supposed to be done without a certificate of appropriateness.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not.
I'm sympathetic to to your troubles with COVID and to construction issues, but those things are irrelevant under the USDO. You proceeded with alterations to the exterior of a building in a historic district without doing so in accordance with an approved certificate of appropriateness.
Does it make sense to have some of us meet on site to look at the existing conditions?
Lee, that's what we asked at the last meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened?
I would be happy to.
No, I don't.
We were at the last meeting. We talked to some planning people, and we said, "Why don't you come over?"
Just clarify. You're talking about the meeting at the building department.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Oh well, I'm talking about a meeting on site.
Yes. Yeah, Lee, we can set that up. Absolutely.
How does the other commissioners feel about that?
I'm in.
Well, I think, physically seeing what the limitations are is critical to understanding the nature of the problem. I think how this proceeded, though, to what appears to be a completed structure without a building permit and without a certificate of appropriateness is somewhat beyond me.
John, we had a building permit. We had a building permit for the exterior.
For, as we clarified in the meeting with the building department, that was only for 54, the building at 54 North Pearl Street, the Emery building.
So,
That was issued prior to your approval for 52, the brick building at 52 North Pearl Street.
So let
Not
me be
for
clear.
the
When you're
whole
saying the building permit
alteration.
before I submitted to HRC, the building permit I got for exterior was only for 54?
Correct, because you were going through the process of receiving approval for 52 North Pearl Street.
I got the building permit before.
For the structure of,
Oh, for the structure.
for the exterior alterations, you did not have a building permit for the exterior alterations at 52.
Okay. I
Right,
was not aware.
so and I hate to, this sounds, this sounds crazy. So this could be returned then to just, CDX plywood boarded up. Is that what you're saying? That's what it should be?
That's your choice.
No, I'm just asking you, if that's the case, until we come up with a final solution, is that something is that between the law and what we're saying here? Is that since we did touch it, should it be returned to CDX plywood the way it was?
I would hope, can we go back to the existing photograph? I would hope that that's not the case, and we can, Amy can give us direction.
No, it's because there's a legal opinion here.
Yeah, I'll ask Amy if this was seen as a temporary construction enclosure and we were able to identify it as that and not an approved treatment. I would have no problem calling it that short term, but it's an understanding that it's not an acceptable final treatment. So from my perspective, I would hope that we don't have to go through the effort of removing all of this as a temporary enclosure with the understanding that it is not an approved final treatment. So Amy, that's a question for you.
There are a number of different enforcement mechanisms that the city can use here. I have to say though, this doesn't look like a temporary enclosure to me, and there's still the issue that you proceeded to alter the exterior of a building in a historic district without an approved certificate of appropriateness. The fact that you might have had a building permit for the building next door, or even if you had a building permit, it still requires that you have to comply with the certificate of appropriateness and what's been approved by the Historic Resources Commission. You can't just go to the HRC, get an approval, and then get a building permit and do something completely different. So, I think the ultimate result in this case is going to be that, it's going to have to become consistent either with the certificate of appropriateness that was issued or, with a new certificate of appropriateness if HRC, decides to issue one. There's also the possibility of getting a hardship waiver, but this would have to be denied first, and then you'd have to apply. And I think you'd face steep difficulties in getting a hardship exemption because the hardship here, it was entirely self-created.
Okay.
I'm sorry, assuming that we that we left this meeting understanding that there would be a revised proposal that is submitted, if that was the understanding that we left, are you saying it is or is not essential or required that what exists now be removed?
If they're going to submit new plans, I think that we can, what can we do at this point exactly? There's no business operating there. So, if they're intending to fix it, then I think that we would like to work with them on that. There are still, there are several options that are possibilities for the building department. I don't represent the building department, so I can't say what types of enforcement actions they will decide to take. They can issue a notice of violation and a stop work order, $1,000 fine. But again, that's not my forte. Quote me on that. There's also a provision in the USDO which states that violations of the historic district regulations can result in a certificate of occupancy being denied for up to 2 years. So these things are all still on the table, regardless of what your intention is to, in terms of fixing the exterior.
Okay, so at this point, I mean, I appreciate where where you're coming from. I understand that. We need your input on this. So again, I'll say it again, and I did not know it was approved. That's my fault. It's nobody else's fault. So I would love it if I would appreciate it if the members would come down and visit the site with me and give me your input on what we can do. I'm open to suggestions because obviously we've invested a lot of time and money in this property to bring it back. And I know that we don't want it to not be appropriate for this setting downtown. So
What's the condition of the apartments in the second and third and
the second and third, and out of 4 apartments, 3 are completed. And we have a temporary certificates for each one.
Anybody living there now?
Yes, there are. Yeah. Quite honestly, it's really my only source of income right now because all of our restaurants, we're actually closing the market on Friday. Pearl Street Pub's only open 2 days a week. So
understandable. Well, I'd like to go down and see what's there and see if some solution could be arrived to.
I would appreciate that. And if Aaron wants to set up, I mean, I'm available pretty much every day. I can meet on site with anybody all at once or in individual times. And then, if we come up with something, we'll come back and hopefully we can get it resolved in something that makes sense.
The problem is that what's there now is really a hodgepodge that just doesn't meet in any condition what should be there on an historic zone. I understand you were temporarily boarding it up, and this was one way to get things functioning, but it just can't stay the way it is. And we need.
I understand.
Solution.
We agree with that. I think at the last meeting, we were looking for all the help we can get, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think a lot can be determined at the site visit because
Yes.
I'm curious as to what is behind that wall.
Yeah.
Sure.
Aaron, could you go back to that historic photo and see if you can blow in a little bit? If you can, I don't know if you can zoom.
Can't zoom.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't zoom in, but
Yep.
All right. So these 2 buildings were one row house at one time, all the way across. And prior to 1920 or 25, this was all one brick building all the way across. Then when John Emery took the building, he put that facade on the face of it, changed the windows. I have a photo of this as one long row house with windows all the way from the beginning of 52 all the way to the end of 54. The door that you see that's right by that post, where that light post is, you got to remember what Chris mentioned earlier. This building, somebody took it in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they gutted it completely to the walls. There was nothing on any of the floors, and they broke through 52 to 54. It looks like they may have had in their mind, maybe some of you guys have been, maybe Jack, that this was maybe going to be made into some sort of bar restaurant in the early 2000s. I don't know. And because they broke through the wall on the second floor. So when you see an entranceway where you see it down below on 52, that has no relevance to an entrance today because there's no staircase there. There was nothing there. In fact, the people in 2000 put a elevator pit right there, and it looked like they were going to run an elevator straight up.
And what I'm interested, George, just as you take this back to your designer, is you see some elements on the storefront, if not fixed to that position necessarily, but you see, again, that lower bulkhead, you see high, tall glazing, you see a transom, there's some relationships there. And just as that approved, I think there's pretty good clues here as to where a solution might come, even if there's a change of position of doors and things like that. But between this photo and the approved elevation that you'd submitted, that was approved, I think the kit of parts is there. And it shouldn't be that hard to get a solution.
Yeah, so again, behind that, in where you currently have it now, again, like 22 to 25 inches back is that staircase going to the basement and a elevator pit. I had sent Chris back a while ago a photo showing glass still on the front from like a retail store that actually had wood maybe 22 inches back. So you're looking at glass, but then you're looking at a wood hallway 22 inches back.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that, I mean, that was just, it just didn't look right, but that's something that, you know, could be put there. The problem is you still got that pipe coming out from where the fire department pipe is. And, you know, sure, I'd like to have something where that green area is now, but I don't know what you put there. You put a piece of smoked glass there? Or what do?
You can put a showcase.
That's what we originally talked about, like a showcase.
Yeah.
That's what was there, Jack. If you remember, there was a little showcase there for, I don't know what was there, but there was a showcase window there in the 90s.
Flat, semi-titious material, showcase, and lights. There's solutions.
Now, these two buildings originally looked alike as adjoining row houses.
Yeah, I have a picture. They were exactly
What
brick
was
all
that?
the way across.
What was on the roof?
So the roof had that same roof on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, the way it was. That top apartment was actually a photographic studio from what I did some research on. The guy had it for like some sort of art studio, photo studio, and it had some.
I knew that, but I was surprised the Emory building had the same kind of roof originally.
No, it didn't have a peaked. It didn't have a peaked roof. It was flat.
Okay, that would make
Roof
more
was
sense.
added to 52, wasn't it?
But it was only added. It was only added on the left-hand side in 52. You didn't get the equivalent on the adjoining building at 54. That remained as a flat roof. Is that my understanding? Okay.
I don't know if Aaron, you want to set it up, or I don't know how you want me to proceed with that, but
I will coordinate everyone and set up it probably will have to be broken into times, because if we're having a site visit, unless we're going to be calling a public meeting where members of the public can attend, we'll need to be doing it so that there's no quorum.
Okay,
So it'll have to be probably
It might
shifts.
be 2 site visits.
Yeah, 2 site visits.
that's fine. Like I said, I'm pretty much down there every day. So I would definitely love to get everybody's input and see, once you see the inside, I think you'll have a better understanding. I'm sure we can come up with a viable solution, and hopefully we can move forward and I can be done with this project after almost 3 years.
So I would just kind of like to bring everyone's attention back to the current proposal of what we are supposed to be reviewing. We do need a motion for the current proposal for retaining the existing alteration, or it can be withdrawn or deferred in order to allow the applicant to revise it. But we do have to have a motion on the existing proposal as designed and presented tonight.
I don't think we need any motion if this is withdrawn from the person who's proposing.
Jack, the only concern I have legally from a withdrawn, I have to ask our legal expert there, does that have any implications versus where if it was denied, if you guys just put it to motion and denied it, then it looks like we're still in the process. If we withdraw it, is there any legal issue on our part there?
I would recommend deferring.
Can you see what Erica just, I'm on a conference call.
I'd like to, if we do defer, and that's what I was hoping you'd say, Amy, that we give a time frame to it, so that if we don't resolve this within an agreed upon time, that then whatever other course of action is ready to proceed.
Aaron, you might know this better than I do. I believe it's 60 days.
60 days, correct. We have 60 days to take action once it's considered complete.
60 days to get it to the approval stage, or 6 days to complete it?
60 days for the HRC to make a decision once the application is complete. since
Okay.
we're deferring, I think the consensus is now this application is not complete.
All right.
I make a motion that we defer the project. And that we get together and set up a couple of site visits to determine what we can do in coming up with a better design.
Learn the limitations and step forward.
Something that offers more transparency and more compatibility with the historic district.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, we have a motion to defer. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay. Aaron, do you see anyone from the general public in attendance or that wants to make a comment?
We don't have anybody signed up. Let me just. And it doesn't look like we have anybody with raised hands, so. No.
All right.
Good to take a vote.
Then we could call it to a vote. And then obviously work post haste to move this forward within that 60-day time frame that we have. All right, all those in favor of the motion to defer action on 52 South Pearl?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? None? All right, the motion is carried and we look forward to visiting your establishment and figuring out together what the logical assumptions can be made and how we move forward with the project.
I have
Thank you.
one
Oh,
quick
sorry.
question before, if we can do the math, because there's a start, we're talking about a 60-day period to which we need a approval at the end. That's our goal.
Mhm.
And yet I think we need to, it'd be valuable to pull in a cushion so that when the commission receives the next submission, it's not up to the end of that 60-day period, but we've got the time to refine it if necessary.
Well, I don't think the 60-day period has started yet.
You don't?
No.
So if it's being deferred, pretty much what the commission is saying is that it's incomplete and that further information is needed or revisions to the application are needed. So really, if the next time that Chris and George come back and the application has all the information that the commission is requesting, that would then kick that 60-day period into effect.
Well, then let me ask a question. This won't happen, of course, but suppose we never hear again from Chris and George, then what happens?
They will have outstanding violations.
Yeah, you would have
on
violations.
the property.
The application can also be dismissed after 45 days.
Right.
If it's incomplete. So 45 days from whenever they first submitted.
Okay. I'll assume that's not what's going to happen at all.
No.
I grew up in the city, Marilyn. In fact, I got Jack into office. My family, through the vote in the 13th ward, 14th ward, Jack, what was it?
14th Ward.
14th ward, Jack had a really tough fight against an opponent years and years ago, and my 9 family votes put him over the top.
It was worse than that. The first was a primary, and it was a tie vote. So there was always somebody.
You had to write them in.
That they were the ones with the one that made it a tie.
We had to do write-ins back then, Jack, remember?
That was, 3 months later, 2 months later. Yep.
Voting irregularities continue.
Yes.
The New York Times
Allegations
for
of
the
them.
picture.
So Chris, I will reach out to you and we will coordinate and set up
Okay.
a time that works for everyone or the majority of the commission. So
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you to the commission for.
Thank
your
you, Commissioner. I
understanding.
really appreciate any help.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for
So-
looking to us to help you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys come down, I'll buy you coffee at the market. Okay. And were you all set?
So Aaron, can I just a matter of, so Aaron, are we going to schedule this? I didn't hear that. So are you going to schedule that or what's
Yep, I will reach out. I will reach out to you and Chris, and we
Yeah.
will coordinate. We will find some times that are good for you, and then I will reach out to the commission and put those times out to them, and set up shifts. So it'll probably be like 4, and then maybe another 4 commissions. So we'll do it in 2 or 3 shifts.
Yeah, I can do that. Thank you.
And I think what we have, Aaron, also is a lot of pictures too that they can reference to after they leave. We'll have a lot of photos of what's behind there so they can take it and look at it and get us their.
Yeah, any of that
I'd like to see
information.
the original, from back when that was 2 row houses.
You want to see that when it was 2? I got it.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Any
Yeah.
documentation
Nice.
that you have and you would like to share, you can send that to me and I can distribute that to them as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank
All right.
Night.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Just for the record, if you get a free cup of coffee, make sure you pay for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Or just don't accept it. So
Yeah.
My father used to tell
Come
me
with
that the most,
coffee in hand
yeah,
when you come to the visit.
my father's guidance to me was that the most expensive things in life are free.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Aaron, are there any other items to come before the commission this evening?
we discussed earlier, John, and I will provide the schedule for the 2021 HRC meetings in the December 2nd packet. I spoke with John earlier. We are looking to do a split meeting setup with the first meeting of the month. The first Wednesday would be a meeting and a workshop. The workshops would kind of act as a concept presentation or a brief review of applications that will be coming to the second meeting of the month, and allow the commission to provide applicants with feedback or review and have a discussion of applications, and whether they're complete or more information is needed or clarification is needed. So I will be sending that out. And as of right now, the meetings will still be held virtually over Zoom, and then we will proceed from there once we have more information on the current state of things.
Okay, well, we certainly look forward to the opportunity to introduce workshops into the mix.
Yeah, I think it will be nice. I think we can work through it. I think it can reflect the way that we're currently doing concept reviews, or, we can alter it to fit the HRC's needs. So.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, but other than that, that's it.
All right. Anybody else have anything they would like to bring up before we depart and I go eat dinner?
Right.
Entertain
Well
a motion
done,
to
Aaron.
adjourn? What's that?
Well done.
Thank you. And thank you all for your
Yes.
hard work tonight. It's not an easy application, so.
I
All right.
trust we can get through 52. I just don't know what's behind that wall. And I still don't understand why they didn't come to the HRC with their current design.
What could really be behind that wall that they didn't put behind that wall? What
Yeah.
could, the building was totally gutted to nothing. There's nothing in there.
How could there be so many surprises that they couldn't share?
Yeah.
It's kind of unfair, but sometimes it seems that.
All right, a motion to
Okay.
adjourn? All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
They will.
Later.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Small gatherings.
Yes.